I have spent over $60,000 on all of my tattoos so far. That is a lot of money spent and a lot of hours in the chair that my body had to endure. And I've realized I have not done a tattoo tour video in quite some time, and I've been getting a ton of comments asking, hey Mike, do an updated tattoo tour video. So today, I'm gonna be giving you a full tattoo tour of every tattoo on my body, do a little story time behind them on why I decided to actually get these tattoos done on my body permanently, as well as talk about, you know, like pain scale and a bunch of other stuff. So it's gonna be a fun time. If you haven't yet subscribed to EvolveINK, my name's Mike, and I would love to have you on to be a part of this community on the channel. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button below. For me, I feel like my tattoo journey started a little bit later in the game than most people. I mean, a lot of people will get their first tattoos 15, 16, 18 years old. I actually didn't get my first tattoo till I was like 20 years old. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised that it took that long because of my love for tattoos. I literally grew up loving tattoos because my dad has a lot of tattoos, and I would go to the tattoo shops with him. But I will say that the first tattoo that I've gotten, you can no longer see because I ended up getting it covered up. Yep, I got it covered up because I regretted that thing. Now, it was just a few words going across my chest that you could see right here. And first off, I was terrified to get my first tattoo. I am somebody that's absolutely terrified of needles. And back then, the thought of getting tattoos, the needle penetrating my skin, was enough for me to not get a tattoo. So I'll admit, I got it. I sat in a tattoo chair before at a shop, was about to get my chest done, and ended up wussing out, walking out of there and not being able to get it done. But over time, I obviously wanted to get the tattoo, got in that chair, got it done, realized that I really had nothing to worry about, and tattoo needles do not feel anything like regular syringe needles that you get at, like, say, the doctor or whatever. But anyway, everything that I teach on this channel about tattoos, getting tattoos, being, you know, researching your artists and coming up with unique designs, I didn't do that when I was younger. I ended up Googling the first tattoo shop that was around me. I did a walk-in. I didn't research the artist. I went to the first tattoo artist that was available, which was an apprentice at the time, and I ended up getting some script done. Now, yes, I got over the pain, so it was definitely an accomplishment there, but not only did the tattoo not look good, it was a lot smaller than it should have been on my chest, and also on top of that, it was a copy of a band member at the time. It was literally a carbon copy of what this band member had tattooed on their chest. Now, I ended up getting it, and then next thing you know, I regretted that tattoo and got it covered up over time with the piece that you see, well, you'll be seeing in a little bit. I'm gonna try to take you chronologically through all the tattoos that I got. I won't spoil that one yet, but let's get over to the next tattoo. Well, kinda, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do next. So after my chest piece, I really loved the look of sleeve tattoos. Like, I just thought they looked so awesome. They were so unique at the time, and they just made you look cool. I don't know, it was just awesome looking. But I didn't want to just get tattoos to make me look cool or make me feel more confident. I wanted them to have some meaning behind it. So I ended up starting my black and gray sleeve, which is now, like, I would think like 13, 14 years old, which, you know, is pretty old. I am due for a touch-up, which, fun fact, that is actually the next time I'll be in the tattoo chair. I'm gonna get my whole black and gray sleeve done. I think we're gonna redo this whole sleeve in like the high contrast look that you'll be seeing on my Harry Potter leg sleeve, which I'll be showing you in a little bit. But I like my tattoos punchy, dark, and my color tattoos really vibrant and bold. But back onto the tattoo tour. So the next tattoo that I got after my little words across my chest was my Leonardo da Vinci portrait tattoo, if you actually want to call this thing a portrait. Anyway, so I got tattooed by 3 different artists in my whole time of getting tattoos. One was the walk-in artist that I got the words on my chest. The second one was a referral from a family friend, and then my current artist, Matt Doherty. The referral from a family friend, I forget what her name was, but it was a family friend that had tattoos, and at the time, me not knowing what really good tattoos look like, or not really knowing much about tattoos, I thought that his tattoos were good. Now looking back at them, I'm like, they're okay. They're not the worst, but they're definitely not the best. But, you know, I knew that I wanted to get a portrait tattoo, and I ended up saying, like, yo, who did you end up going to for your tattoos? And I believe this lady specialized in like color animal portraits or something. The guy, the family friend, was like, man, you need to go try out this artist, go look her up, you know, look at her work, she's phenomenal. And I took this guy's word for pretty much gold because of the fact that he was a perfectionist. Everything in life, he wanted the best of the best. But now I went to the tattoo artist, I got this portrait of Leonardo da Vinci, and now looking at the other tattoos that I have and seeing the quality of work that I'm getting now, I'm like, it definitely stands out from the rest of the tattoos, especially the rest of my black and gray sleeve. But I will say, I talked to Matt about this, and he said once we go over and redo the black and gray sleeve, he's going to be able to spice up this bad boy and make it look up to par with the rest of the sleeve, which I'm super excited about. Now you might be asking, Mike, why did you get Leonardo da Vinci tattooed on your arm permanently to be there forever? Well, there's a couple different reasons. One, Leonardo da Vinci is definitely my favorite historical figure. I mean, the things that he accomplished, the things that he was creating and inventing was super fascinating. I mean, all of his art is just so mysterious, and I just love him for multiple different reasons. But another thing that made me want to get this tattooed on you, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'll open it up right here. I never talked about this in a video before. When I was younger, before I started getting tattoos, when I was younger and I was in school, you know, upbringing wasn't the best. I mean, it was right around the time that, you know, my parents were going through a divorce, and I felt like, you know, my family that was once so close was breaking. I was losing my childhood dog at the time, that literally has been in my life forever. It felt like, to be honest with you, school was the only escape from the reality that I had at home. And I hated school at the same time. But I remember there was a project that I ended up really working on, and we had to pick an historical figure and, you know, do like a whole essay and storyboard on them. And it was this pretty intense project, well, at least I thought it was at the time. But it was like the only time in school that I can honestly say that I gave it my all. And also it kind of distracted me from everything that I was going on in life, and I ended up getting like an A+ on it, and it was such like a great feeling. I know that kind of sounds silly, but to me it meant so much to me as my upbringing and me growing up, and that's why I ended up getting Leonardo da Vinci tattooed on my bicep. Now with the pain, the bicep is easy. I would, you know, out of a 1 to 10 pain scale, I give this area 5. If you plan on getting this area tattooed, it's super easy. You have nothing to worry about. Now moving down the arm, the next tattoo that I got after that was another very special one, arguably one of my favorite tattoos that I have on my body, and that is my Direwolf inner bicep tattoo. Now this one has deep meaning. Remember, I was talking to you about my childhood pet that passed away a few minutes ago? This is a tattoo that's dedicated to my dog Dillinger. So to give you some context, when I was growing up, I'm a child of 3. I have 1 older brother, 1 older sister, and my dad knew that they weren't going to have any more kids, and there's actually a 10-year time span between me and my brother. So my dad didn't want me to grow up alone and not bother like my other older sisters and my brother. So he ended up getting me a puppy, a German Shepherd puppy, and his name was Dillinger. And that dog ended up being with me from literally when I was born all the way up till he was 15 years old. And when I say, I don't know if any of you guys are animal people or love your pets or have pets or whatever, but when you find a dog like Dillinger, I mean, you'll never stop thinking about that, about your pet. I mean, losing, I have all my parents, I have my siblings, I never really lost anybody special in my life, but Dillinger was the hardest loss that I had so far. So when he passed away, it was really one of the hardest things. So I wanted to do something to muralize him on my body, which was get a Direwolf. Now, funny story, the reason why I got a Direwolf is because of the fact that my dad, when I was growing up, he would always tell me, and I was younger at the time, so I believed it, that Dillinger was a wolf. So I ended up wanted to get a Direwolf on my body, and it was pretty cool. So this was the first tattoo I got from my current tattoo artist, Matt Doherty, and he ended up putting a reference photo of Dillinger and also a wolf reference photo and like combined them together to what I got on my arm. And I couldn't be happier with this. And it's such, you know, the placement, I know this may sound cheesy, but you know, it's like right next to my core being. It's right next to my chest. I always hold them near and dear to my chest. I could tear up thinking about them right now, but I love this tattoo. I can't stress that enough, and it means a lot to me, and I still think about this dog every day. Now, in regards to the pain scale, the inner bicep sucks. One of the most painful tattoo experiences I had on my body so far. I would probably give it around a 7 out of 10 on the pain scale. Now, after my wolf tattoo, the next part of my black and gray sleeve that I ended up getting was my lamb tattoo. And a lot of people say, why does this grown man have a lamb on their arm? There's some significance to it. I really did love the story, The Lion and the Lamb. It's the fable between the lion and the lamb. It ends up like teaching, like, you know, it shows that no matter what, you end up not being able to trust anybody, even if they seem like they're trustworthy. So that's the one thing that is a reminder that I always have on my body. You know, I could look down at my arm and see that I have a lamb and a lion right down here, which I really do love a lion. So for some reason, I always forget that I have a lion tattoo on my arm, even if it's at like a more prominent area like the forearm. The lion, that ended up sucking. I used to think that the forearm was super painful, and then I ended up getting other tattoos on my body and I realized, okay, the forearm is not as bad as at all. But where the lamb is not actually that bad either in regards to pain, besides like this little area right down here where like the grass is going, because, you know, the elbow ditch, that sucked really bad. And the final part of my black and gray sleeve actually was my St. Michael casting away Lucifer piece. Cool story behind this. So the reason why I got this piece was because of the fact that when my mom was pregnant, they always used to go to Williamsburg, Virginia. There's this park, Busch Gardens. I'm sure some of you guys heard it. And in France, which my name is French, or my last name is French, it's Desmarais. They ended up actually seeing the St. Michael statue while my mom was pregnant with me. And they really didn't know what they were going to name me. There was 2 names, actually. There was either Michael or Philippe. So my name could have been Philippe at some point. But anyway, so they ended up seeing the statue, and they told me that that very moment was when they realized that they want to name me, their son, Michael. So I'm named after St. Michael. So I ended up getting the actual statue to where my name originated from tattooed on my body right on my outer forearm, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought the statue was pretty awesome. And then once I was growing up, they still continued the tradition of going to Busch Gardens, and I would always see this statue of St. Michael in France, which I just thought was always so cool. Pain scale on the outer forearm, easy as pie, not that bad at all. Now, down by the wrist area, the wrist always sucks to me. I feel like it sucks because it's a more bonier area and the skin's a little bit more sensitive. I would give that around like a 7 out of 10 as well. It could have been a little bit spicy. This video is going to end up being super long because I have so many tattoos now, but whatever. So moving on to my next arm, it's my Dragon Ball color arm sleeve. And I know what a lot of people are going to say, because I get comments on the YouTube channel saying it all the time. Hey, you have a Dragon Ball sleeve, you're a grown man, like, aren't you going to regret that in like a couple of years, having cartoons on your arm? No, I'm not, because Dragon Ball means more to me than it just being a cartoon that I grew up with. It was an escape from all the things that I talked to you guys about earlier, as well as, you know, it was just such an inspiration for me going to the gym, becoming stronger, watching these characters always prevail. There's a lot to it. But anyway, fun fact, I wasn't actually going to get an arm sleeve of Dragon Ball. I was actually only going to get one tattoo, one picture, which is this one right here, tattooed on. I was going to get it on the back of my calf. But over time, I was like, man, this show was such a big part of my life, still is. And I texted Matt, I was like, Matt, why don't we just do a full-blown Dragon Ball sleeve? Do you think you could do it in black and gray? And he was like, yeah, we could do it in black and gray, but I feel like we need to do that in color. And I'm like, whoa, you could do this in color? I thought he was just a black and gray artist, but turns out he could do every type of art style. So then we started mapping out the Dragon Ball sleeve. Now, the crazy part about this was it was super hard to pick what characters were gonna be in the sleeve, because, you know, I only have that little bit of arm space, and I needed to figure out what my favorite characters that I wanted to incorporate in the sleeve. And the first piece that I got was actually my Goku and Frieza piece that is right on my bicep right here. Now, of course, in a Dragon Ball sleeve, I had to get Goku and Frieza on there. And what better place to put the main character Goku and the main villain Frieza right on the focal point of an arm sleeve. So I had to get it there. Now, the annoying part about this piece was I got it pretty much all the way done, but then I ended up having to wait for like a year and a half to get it finished. And I'm somebody, I don't know if I ever shared this, but I'm somebody that hates getting unfinished tattoos. I am somebody that would rather sit until I'm like literally about to pass out in agonizing pain to complete a tattoo rather than walking out of the shop with an unfinished tattoo. It bothers me to no end. But it was terrible, because every single day I'm like, wow, this piece looks awesome, but it's not finished. So then it would bother me. But anyway, I love the fact that I got the Ultra Instinct Goku when he's doing the Kamehameha. I love the way everything just flows together from this piece alone. And this is like the key part of the sleeve that makes everything like flow nicely. Now, the pain scale, I already talked about the bicep. It was super easy. Like the bicep shoulder area, so easy. And a lot of people say like, oh, do black and gray tattoos hurt less than color tattoos? No, they don't. I used to think that, but they all feel the same if you ask me. But yeah, this area right here, 7 out of 10, or like a 4 out of 10, not a 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10, super easy. So unlike my black and gray sleeve, I didn't like work my way down the arm. For my Dragon Ball piece, the next area I actually got done was my outer forearm area, the Vegeta, we're saying God Vegeta. And I gotta say, I absolutely love this piece. I mean, a lot of people say like, why did you end up getting the red hair Vegeta instead of like the yellow or the blue? I know the transformations, but I'm not gonna confuse a bunch of people by saying those. But anyway, and I was like, you know, when I saw the red hair Vegeta, I thought it was so unique. So I really wanted to get not only Vegeta powering up, I wanted to add that red in there too, which I thought would be really cool, but also having like a little scene of them fighting from the movie. I was super happy about how this turned out, and it still looks so friggin' vibrant, and I love how saturated this whole piece is. And speaking of saturated, the next piece that I got after that, which arguably is my favorite part of my Dragon Ball sleeve, which is my Teen Gohan tattoo, which is on the other side of my forearm, so my outer forearm. This piece, even to this day when I look at it, I'm still like, wow. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you probably won't argue with me on why I decided to get Teen Gohan on my body, because I think he's the coolest version of Gohan. Yes, the new version where he turns Beast in the new movie is pretty cool, but Teen Gohan was always super awesome. I always, like, when I was a kid, I remember when he turned into this form, it was super inspiring to me and got me all in my emotions and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I want that on my arm somewhere. That's gonna look awesome. The original reference photo that I ended up bringing in for Matt to tattoo this on me, it was an old cartoon, so it really wasn't that detailed. And I don't know if I could end up finding the old reference photo anywhere, but just know that the tattoo that he ended up putting on me is so much more detailed than the reference photo that I gave him. And when I saw this thing, I was like, wow, this thing is awesome. Now it sucked, a lot of it sucked, especially like the tips of his hair, because it's going into like, say, the elbow ditch area. But man, was that terrible. That was terrible. The pain scale was like a 7 or 8 out of 10. Oh my God, it was nuts. Now, right below Gohan, there's actually 2 tattoos there, and you might be thinking, wow, how'd you fit 2 tattoos there? Well, before I actually got my whole arm sleeve done, I actually got a matching, or not really matching, it's more of like a connecting tattoo with my girlfriend Lexi. So when we were growing up, before we actually started dating, we ended up dating for a little bit, and we were really big into Game of Thrones, and our little thing was like, oh, like Moon of My Life and My Sun and Stars, and the 2 characters, Daenerys Targaryen and Khal Drogo, ended up doing it. For you Game of Thrones fans, you probably know what I'm talking about. I used to call her my Moon of My Life, and she used to say My Sun and Stars. One day we decided, we were like, you know what? Okay, let's go get matching tattoos or connecting tattoos. So this is what the tattoos look like together, and I think it's pretty damn cool. Like, you know, for such a small piece, I think it's pretty damn detailed. But yeah, there was this tattoo, and it didn't really hurt that bad. Even though it's part of the forearm, it was super quick. I was in and out of the chair, so I would give this probably like a 4 or 5 out of 10 on the pain scale. Now, you might be saying, there's another tattoo down there? How the hell did you fit 2 tattoos down there? Well, I had the Gohan piece, and then I had the Moon piece, and we had this little awkward space right by my wrist. And I was like, man, what are we gonna do there? I don't want to just leave that blank. And Matt was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, what, you have anything in mind? And then it clicked into my head, going back to my Dragon Ball sleeve. Future Trunks was always one of my favorite characters in the show. He was my favorite character growing up, and he still is one of my favorite characters now. So he has this time machine that on the side of the time machine, it says Hope. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we get Trunks' time machine that has just the letters Hope, and I'll show you right here, right on the wrist area. Not only is it, I feel like it's super cool because I like that whole aspect of the show when he goes into the time machine and it has Hope on there, but also it's right on my wrist. So, you know, if I ever look down at it, you know, it's like hope. It's like never give up hope on the things that you believe in, the things that you want to happen. You just never give up hope. So I thought that was like the perfect thing to add right on my Dragon Ball sleeve because it's meaningful and also it, you know, it goes with the rest of the sleeve. And I will say, a lot of people that I always show this, a lot of my friends and a lot of people I meet, they're like, wow, that was super creative at the fact that you ended up putting hope there and tying it all in, but also having that other meaning. And I'm like, I know. Now, speaking of Trunks, I have him, of course, on my body too. Like, he was one of my favorite characters. I had to put him on there. Now, he's hiding in the back right below my elbow. And this tattoo kind of sucked because these last 3 tattoos on this sleeve, we actually got done in one go. Or actually, no, it wasn't the last 3. It was 3 in one session, but then I had to go back and do another one. But anyway, so yeah, we had to do Trunks and Piccolo all in one go, and Master Roshi actually. Yeah, Trunks, Piccolo, and Master Roshi we ended up doing in one go because they're all a lot smaller than we originally anticipated. We had it a full day session, so Matt ended up saying like, yeah, we could get done all of these if you want. So we ended up blowing past them, but I will say right now, man, was my body worn down. I remember that I ended up having the most swollen elbow I've ever seen. Like, it was such a weird thing. It literally, my elbow was so swollen, it literally looked like somebody shoved the golf ball underneath my skin. Now, Trunks, obviously I needed to get him on there, love him. Piccolo, I always loved Piccolo as well, and also I really loved the colors in Piccolo, like the purples and the greens and stuff like that, and him shooting this blast to really like cut off the different parts of the sleeve, it just worked too good to not get Piccolo on there doing the special beam cannon, so definitely wanted him on there. And then with Master Roshi, I originally wanted him to have like, you know, if you watch a show, Master Roshi's always like kind of like looking at like girls and whatever. So I wanted to have like a reflection of girls in like his sunglasses, but because it was so small, I wasn't really able to do that. I'm gonna rate everything. So this whole area was definitely a 9 or a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale. Now I won't go that high. Definitely an 8 or a 9 out of 10 on the pain scale because of the fact that we ended up blowing through all of these and it was like 12 hours in the tattoo chair. Also on the inner bicep, we got Goku Black. Now, he was somebody that is from Dragon Ball Super, one of the newer series, and he was definitely somebody I wanted to incorporate in the sleeve, and I also really loved his colors, like the color, like the magentas and the pinks and stuff like that. I thought it would have been so awesome just to have his colors incorporated in the sleeve somehow, and plus his character's cool. So inner bicep, it definitely sucked. Pain scale, it was probably about like, I would say about an 8 out of 10 on the pain scale. It really did suck, and we really had to take a while to pack in the ink into the skin under there, so that sucked as well. We're really getting deep into the story time here, so let's keep it rolling. At this point of my tattoo journey, I ended up having 2 full arm sleeves and my old written down chest piece that we talked about earlier that I ended up hating. And I was thinking, I was like, man, what do I want to do? Do I want to go for a full-blown chest piece? What do I want to get if I want to get a full-blown chest piece? And then also Lexi, my girlfriend, she was always like, you know, you have 2 really awesome looking arm sleeves. Kind of looks weird with you just having these 2 really filled in arm sleeves that flow nicely and then just have some words going across your chest. And I was like, all right, I already regretted this tattoo in the first place. Well, now I'm definitely going to do something with it. So I ended up booking my chest piece. And this was a super big milestone for me during my tattoo journey. Getting your chest done is a pretty big commitment, and if you're getting a big chest piece, it takes a lot of sessions. So I ended up really thinking it long and hard, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just take both my black and gray and my Dragon Ball sleeve and kind of entwine them into one piece, or like one chest piece. So I was talking to Matt and I was like, you know what? How about on the one side connecting my arm sleeve, have Shenron going over my chest, like onto my chest. And, you know, I already have the 7 Dragon Balls throughout my whole Dragon Ball sleeve. I gotta have Shenron in there. So we ended up having Shenron on the one side, and man, was that a journey. I really thought that the Shenron piece, one, we were going to get it done in like 1 or 2 sessions. It ended up being like 4 sessions, 4.5, I think. But also on top of that, I really thought it was going to be a lot painful, and I learned something about my body and the body of everybody's body, I guess, from getting tattoos. Is like, just because one side of your chest feels a certain way doesn't mean the other side of your chest is going to feel the same way. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah, I wanted to get Shenron right on my chest. I wanted him to have the glowing eyes like he's making a wish. And Shenron's cool. He's a friggin' dragon. Who doesn't want an awesome dragon tattooed on there somewhere? So we ended up doing that. The chest, for me, and you might think that this is crazy, for me, it wasn't that bad. It was only around like a 6 on the pain scale. Some spots were a little bit more spicier than others, but for the most part, on average, I would give it a 6. Now, another thing, I'm not a huge fan of people getting tattoos over their nipples. Matt wasn't either. I feel like it looks a little bit weird. Now, moving on to the other side of my sleeve, and I will say this is my most meaningful tattoo that I have on my body, and that is the portrait of my dog Sirius. Now, before anybody asks, no, Sirius is still alive and healthy, and he's the best boy. He's 4 years old. He'll be 5 in August 2nd of this year, 2024, and man, is he my boy. Like, I got Sirius and he was 8 weeks old. I always wanted to have a black German Shepherd. Me and Lexi, we were talking about it, and we ended up going to the person that had the black German Shepherds and ended up falling in love right away. I was a little bit hesitant at the time going to grab Sirius because I know puppies are a big commitment. But Lexi like convinced me to, like, oh no, come on, we're going to get him. And when I say it was the best decision I've ever made in my life to get Sirius, it's the best. There's no better companion. But anyway, let's get back to the tattoo. So, of course, right on my chest, I was going to get my dog Sirius. I ended up finding one of the many pictures I wanted to get tattooed on him, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have this right on my chest, incorporated into my chest piece. So literally, and I don't like to think this way, but literally from now to the very end of time, he'll be a part of me. I always wanted to incorporate something that always reminded me of Sirius, not only his portrait, but something that we always did. So if you notice, in my chest piece, there's like branches and leaves and stuff like that. One of his favorite things to do, besides follow me around everywhere, is going to the park. If I say park and he's around me, he starts going nuts and he's like, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go. But I really wanted to incorporate an element for him in the piece. Like, not only have him, but also incorporate his favorite thing, which was the park. So I wanted to incorporate that in there. And the cool thing about it is, if you see in my chest piece, part of the black and gray sleeve is going onto my chest piece, and part of my chest piece, the black and gray portion, which Sirius, is kind of bleeding into the Shenron side, like the black goes over to that side. And the same thing, we added some color onto the black and gray side. So I thought that was pretty cool to incorporate both sleeves into both sides of the chest piece. Now, this part of my tattoo journey, it was pretty crazy, because if you're a long-time subscriber to the channel, you'll know that I got my chest piece, which was like, I think like 5-6 sessions long. And then literally a month later, I started my leg sleeve. So in the span of a year, I got a full-blown chest piece and a full-blown leg sleeve, which is pretty insane. Even Matt said I'm pretty insane for that. But we started my Harry Potter leg sleeve. Now, why did I get a leg sleeve? Because I think they look awesome. I am somebody that has always loved the look of leg sleeves. I mean, I feel like they're still pretty unique. I mean, when you go out in the public, in the wild, if you will, you'll see a bunch of arm sleeves, you'll see people have back pieces, chest pieces, but when it comes to leg sleeves, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really see that many leg sleeves out there. I saw a bunch before I ended up getting this Harry Potter leg sleeve done. Like, I follow a bunch of Instagram accounts, so I kept seeing like really awesome leg sleeves, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting a leg sleeve. I'm gonna do a Harry Potter leg sleeve. And it was always in my mind that I wanted to do this, but seeing all those awesome tattoos, it inspired me to get them done a lot quicker. That's why right after my chest piece, I ended up literally going right into the tattoo chair to start my leg sleeve. And of course, the first part of my leg sleeve was going to be Dumbledore. Just like I had problems with my Dragon Ball sleeve with trying to figure out what characters I wanted to incorporate in it, I had the same problem with the Harry Potter leg sleeve, but of course I had to add Dumbledore in there. So why I wanted to have Dumbledore, he was one of my favorite characters in the show, and with this whole Harry Potter leg sleeve, I told Matt that I wanted it to be punchy, super dark, high contrast. I wanted it to be bold and eye-catching, as well as adding elements of color in there, which you'll see throughout the leg sleeve. And one of the coolest things that I had done in my Dumbledore piece is he grabbed the still from the movie and juiced it up, which I thought was pretty awesome, as well as he added his eye color to be blue. And I am somebody that loves black and gray tattoos, especially the high contrast ones with pops of color. I feel like they're just so unique looking. And man, when I say that this piece is super eye-catching, like, I'll be like looking at it still to this day, and it's almost super trippy at the fact of how detailed and realistic it looks. Now, the area of pain wasn't really that bad. I would give it around a 5 out of 10, just like how the bicep was. This was a long piece to get done. We were like, I think in the chair for like 12 hours, and we still didn't get it done. We had to actually like go back and add some more details to like the beard and shadows in the face. So it was a very long tattoo, but like with all portraits, you know, it takes a while. I also wanted to add for my whole Harry Potter leg sleeve, I ended up switching up my tattoo healing, like the way I heal my tattoos, to my new method, which was a combination of traditional healing as well as using second skin like Sanoderm. And I will tell you right now, I've never had my tattoos heal up any better than what they did on my leg sleeve. I made full videos on how I heal my tattoos now, my updated healing way. You could check that out on the channel. But anyway, moving on to the next piece, which is right on the side on like my hip area, which is Voldemort, which for you guys that don't know, in Harry Potter, he is like the evil guy. And I was like, of course, you know, having like the main good guy, which is Dumbledore, right on my, you know, focal point of the sleeve, but then Voldemort on the other side. And I wanted him to look really menacing. I wanted him to look like super like evil and like all scarred up. And Matt was using a new tattooing technique. Well, he told me he was using the new tattooing technique for this piece. And holy shit, like this piece is so detailed. I still get compliments whenever people see this. They're like, that is incredible. Like, that is a crazy, crazy looking tattoo. In regards to pain, wasn't that bad. I will say though, at this point, I did start to feel what is called tattoo fatigue, where you're like in the chair so often and your body is like, all right, come on, I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. So that did suck. However, it wasn't that bad. Speaking of an area that wasn't that bad, surprisingly not that bad, which was my inner thigh. Now, when I was going into this, man, I was like, oh my God, I got both of my inner biceps done, and that sucked tremendously. I could only imagine what the inner thigh is gonna feel like. I ended up getting Severus Snape right on my inner thigh. When he first started, it was pretty damn painful, but it wasn't as painful as I originally thought. I would probably give it around a 7. So I'm giving you the pain scale first. But anyway, the reason why I got Snape is I feel like, and I'm not even joking, I feel like he is the best well-written fictional character out in general. And we could argue in the comments if you want. Even though my leg sleeve was like the most recent thing I got done, it is still kind of hard to remember the order of things because I was literally in the tattoo chair like every 2 weeks. But I believe the next piece that I ended up getting was my Dobby piece. And this was another piece that I ended up being super scared of getting because it's right in the knee ditch. And the knee ditch is no joke at all. Like, you think the elbow ditch is bad, which the elbow ditch is one of the most painful areas I got done, times the knee ditch by like 3. dude, I don't even remember. It was like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was really bad. But Dobby had to go onto my leg sleeve somewhere. You know, he's a small character. I didn't need a lot of real estate on my leg. Bellatrix was actually going to be there at first. Fun fact about that. Yeah, Bellatrix was going to be there, but I'm like, Bellatrix, she was cool, but when Dobby, spoiler alert, when Dobby ended up dying in the movies, I was like, man, I was like ruined for like 2 weeks, but I was like, all right, I need to get Dobby in there or somewhere. And again, this thing is super detailed. I love what Matt did with like the sparks of him like snapping his fingers. The eye color, I get a lot of compliments on my leg sleeve, more than I probably do with my other tattoos. But at this point in my leg sleeve journey, oh my, was I destroyed. My body did not want to deal with any more tattoos. And if you go back and watch my vlog series of when I got my leg sleeve done, you could see it. I mean, I tried to keep the energy high for you guys watching, but man, my body was just getting destroyed, but I wanted to get it done. Like whenever you're in the process of getting like a big piece done, whether it's a chest piece or an arm sleeve, you just wanted to get it done. So I just stuck through it. But the next piece I ended up getting was Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It was actually Ron and Hermione first. And when I tell you that the bottom leg sessions were terrible, they were terrible. Not, you know, even though I had tattoo fatigue and the fact that, you know, because of having tattoo fatigue, it intensified the pain so much. But also on top of that, the bottom of the leg, man, is just terrible in every aspect. Not only is it more painful down there, but also it heals so slow because of the fact that there's not a lot of blood flow down there. So it makes the tattoo healing process terrible. But this session, when we got Ron and Hermione done, I think we were tattooing for about 10 to 12 hours. And it was the longest 10 to 12 hours of my life. But we ended up getting it done. And I gotta say that I feel like the whole bottom of the leg sleeve, the whole leg sleeve is awesome and incredible. But I will say that this is such a striking part of my leg sleeve that usually gets the most compliment, or not, I won't say gets the most compliments, but usually attracts people's eyes. It literally looks like Rupert Grint, aka Ron. His face is literally coming out of my skin. It's almost three-dimensional. And I do love the locket too. We ended up getting the locket in there to kind of cut off the different pieces of the leg sleeve, so it's not just face after face after face after face. But yeah, this part of the sleeve sucked, but the next part of the sleeve was even worse. It was the Harry Potter section, and I remember that, as you can see right here, we have Harry himself, and down at the bottom we had the Patronus from the movies, and we wanted to add like that like blue ghostly kind of look that the Patronus looks like. But man, down below there, like right by the ankle area and on the way up, that area I thought wasn't going to be too bad, but every single time he put the needle on my skin, I was like about to pass out. I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to sound like a wimp either. It literally felt like he was literally like ripping off parts of my skin on my leg. It was terrible. I give that, it was one of the most painful experiences of tattooing. I felt it was probably, I would say like an 8 out of 10. And the crazy part is we had to keep going over like the blue to really punch those blues in there to make sure the skin was nice and saturated. That was the hardest part. When we got up to Harry, that wasn't that bad, but overall, I love this piece. I love that we did the blue eyes. The shadows in the glasses were awesome. The blues in the Patronus looked awesome. Like, I know I'm saying awesome a lot, but I cannot be happier with this whole leg sleeve. Anyway, on to the next piece. So we actually were almost done the leg sleeve at this point, and Matt was like, man, we have a lot of room down there still, like at the very bottom of my calf area. And I'm like, really? So this dude, after the Harry Potter session, when we got that portrait done, he ended up getting some Sharpies and drew pretty much the next portion on my leg sleeve. Because I told him, I was like, man, I would really love to have Hagrid on there. Hagrid was also one of my favorite characters, but I didn't know where I was going to put him. And he was like, well, listen, dude, we have this whole big area at the bottom. We could definitely add Hagrid there. But again, we didn't just want to have another character's face just next to a bunch of other faces. So Matt was like, well, let's add like Hedwig or like a creature or something there to cut off the different pieces, separate them from all the other like portraits, but also making it tie in all together and flow nicely. So we ended up doing that. And this was another session, again, tattoo fatigue, I don't want to keep mentioning that, but I was going through it at the time. But man, was this a crazy looking tattoo. And it sucks because it's on the back of my leg, so I can't really see it that much, and I can't look at it all the time like the other parts of my leg sleeve. But when I see pictures of it, or I look at clips when I first got it done, it is extremely beautiful. I love the way this tattoo looked, and I'm like so happy at the fact that we could have ended up adding Hagrid onto the leg sleeve and had that much area. I didn't realize how long my leg was, but yeah, Matt was able to fit a lot into this leg sleeve without making it look busy, but making everything flow nicely. The bottom part of my leg all sucks. I would give this probably a 7 or 8 out of 10. Before we get to the last part of my leg sleeve, I do want to just mention that we added some filler up by the knee area, and we added some Dementors and also Hogwarts Castle up there. As you can see right here, kind of connects to Dumbledore. When I tell you this was my most painful tattooing experience I've ever had, believe me when I say that. The knee was terrible. The knee was a 10 out of 10. I don't care what anybody says. It's such a small area that we had to get done. But the problem was we ended up having to keep going over it because just like the elbow, the knee doesn't heal that well. So you had to keep packing the ink into the skin every single time. Moving back up to the top of my leg was an area that we really didn't know what we wanted to do here. And me and Matt brainstormed, and we were like, why don't we add the newspaper that is in The Prisoner of Azkaban, Sirius Black, like on the newspaper, and having him all look like demonic and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that sounds friggin' awesome. Man, when we were getting this done, I gotta say it was pretty hard to sit there for that long. Not because of so much the pain, because this area was pretty easy to get done, but the fact that Matt was kind of so close to, like, not to sound gross, but my bum, it was so hard to not friggin' bust ass while Matt was tattooing me around here. It was terrible. That's all I could have thought about. I had to really focus throughout the whole session. I couldn't be more happier with this piece. I feel like it cuts off the leg sleeve so nice at the very top of my leg, as well as I love the way like the newspaper looks like it's peeling off the skin and burnt. You could literally read what the newspaper is saying, which is really cool, or what it's written out. I'm gonna continue this in the car, but what I was saying is this piece is another one of those tattoos that I wish I was able to see all the time, but in reality, because of the location it's at, I could really never see it. It doesn't make me not love this tattoo anymore, and it's just another awesome piece connected right to my leg sleeve. I really enjoyed this video, sharing with you in the Evolve community why I got all my tattoos and doing this type of story time thing. But leave a comment below what your favorite tattoo that I showed you today, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.